Fernand, thanks for coming. And you talk today about scientific explanations for the performance gender gap in chess. Can you explain the performance gender gap and why is it interesting for a scientist, even to a cognitive scientist, even to look at it? Why is that of the performance gender gap interesting? But please explain it.
Okay, this question is of interest not only because of chess, but also because we find pretty much the same thing in the science and the mathematics. And of course, we live in a society where mathematics are very important, technology is very important. And in fact, in countries like the UK and the United States, there are not enough individuals who are skilled in mathematics. And because relatively few women are taking jobs related to science and mathematics, if we could convince more women to take such professions, then in a sense we would solve the problem of not having enough experts in technology. So that's a kind of financial motivation for that. But of course there is also a scientific question. Well, first, are there any differences? And second, if there are differences, why do we get these differences?
So what causes the performance gender gap in chess?
Well, there is a huge debate about that, and the exact causes, I would say, are not very well understood. And probably the answer is that there are many, many different reasons. Some of the reasons are purely cognitive, other reasons are due to biology, other reasons are due to the social environment, and the difficulty is that these causes are basically interacting in complex ways. So some researchers believe that in fact there are differences at the level of the brain. In fact, some data clearly show that, for example, men on average have a brain that's larger than women. And of course you have the effect of hormones, which can be very important. But it could be the case that these differences are very small at the beginning, so after birth. But then basically boys are going to shape their environment as a function of their maybe a slight advantage in visual spatial ability. They play with different toys, and the effects are going to get bigger and bigger. And girls are better with verbal abilities, and again the effect might be very small at the beginning, but because the environment is going to be shaped both by the girls and also by their parents, we are going to basically encourage girls to play, for example, with dolls, talking with dolls and so on. Then the difference in verbal ability between boys and girls is going to get bigger and bigger. But the difficulty is that you cannot really separate the biological reasons and the reasons due to the environment. They are always going to be mixed together.
But all these causes together, do you think it's possible in our lifetime to see a woman winning the Open World Championship?
Oh yeah, that's definitely possible. In chess we do have some women who are very good. Of course, there are not that many, but there are domains where domains in science where, of course, women got the top levels. There are some Nobel Prize in chemistry, physics, medicine and physiology, and of course there are many more men than women winning prizes in these domains, but there are few women. And a few years ago, women from Iran won the field prize in mathematics. And there's no reason why a woman couldn't be a world champion in chess.
In the last 10 or 15 years, it seems like the performance gender gap has not been decreasing. Before, women were catching up, but it seems like more recently the level is staying the same. And I'm wondering, can it be studied from scientific? Is there a way of looking into this and finding a scientific explanation of what is maybe impeding the development of women these days? What is your thought about it?
Well, I'm quite sure there must be a way to study this, though I'm not quite sure which is the exact way. But the obvious way is to basically try different treatments and see what works. Of course, the difficulty is that you would like to do that at a relatively high level of playing. But basically, you have to try with maybe different incentives, different types of training, play with motivation, Maybe you have to find ways to identify women who are very talented for chess.
And different treatment, does that also include who they play, who they compete with?
Oh yeah, definitely. Is it better for women to play against men or to play against women? Well, the answer is quite clear. It's better to play against men because you want high competition. But for example, there might be specific ways of using computers. Women seem to be very good at tactical play and openings, and they are not that good at more kind of intuitive strategic play. So maybe you can use computers to reinforce this way of playing more intuitive. That would be actually a fascinating domain of research, and that's not that hard to do.
Thank you very much for sharing
You're
these
welcome.
ideas. Thank you.